has always exported culture through cinema, food, music, and storytelling. But fashion may be the most visceral form of it, the one you wear on your body.
And right now, the world is paying attention to India in a way it never quite has before. The devil is not only wearing Prada, but it's also wearing Kolhapuri chappals.
Tonight, we asked two women who have been at the center of this shift how fashion is becoming one of India's most powerful soft power tools, and what it means to be building it from the inside. May I please invite Pankti, Mehta, Kadakia to the stage. And the guests for this session, please put your hands together for Masaba Gupta, fashion designer and founder, House of Masaba. Please also put your hands together for Anaita Shroff Adajania, stylist, entrepreneur, and creative director. Pankti, over to you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you both so much for being here. I feel like this conversation couldn't have come at a better time. It's been the month of red carpets, from the Met Gala to Cannes. It's been all over our Instagram feeds, all over, on top of our heads as well. And it wasn't like this a few years ago. So I'm really happy to have you both here with me today, because both of you have been instrumental in creating Indian fashion that celebrates its heritage in a way that's inventive and cool, but also respectful to where it comes from. Today we're talking about India moving the needle in world fashion, and both of you have been at the center of this journey. I want to start with asking that when you hear the phrase soft power, or when you think about India's power with respect to fashion, what role would you say fashion plays as opposed to film, food, or music? We can start with you, Anaita.
Okay, hi everyone. So I think with fashion, because it's so visible, it's immediate. Also, it's the best, right? Let's be clear. Of course, there is film, there is food, there is literature. There's so much in the arts that comes from India, but fashion is the most visible. You don't need any translation. What you see is what you're absorbing, what you're feeling, and we come from such a rich heritage of, craft, textile, a point of view. We are storytellers by nature. So I think when we hit international red carpets or events, our soft power is not very soft. It's quite hard-hitting, I think.
I have to second what Anaita said, and I think that she's obviously at the forefront of some of the most mega moments across the world. But the way I see it is that I think India's finally realized that we can be inspired by ourselves. I think that the world, the West, has always taken a lot of inspiration from India. And I think you've seen renditions and versions all the way from Chanel, Karl Lagerfeld's Chanel, to you name it. There has been India in pretty much every major design house's storytelling at some point in their career. And I think India is suddenly waking up to the idea that, hey, if everyone else has eyes on us, why can't we have eyes on ourselves? And I think she's right. We are a treasure chest of inspiration, of storytelling, and craft. I think, be it the sari, I always go back to that as being at the center of innovation. We look at the West and we say someone created something or the other, but I think we always forget we created the sari, which can be worn in 100,000 different ways. And it's global, as well as Indian, very, very rooted in India. But I think what's happening, the shift that I see is that India has picked up the confidence that the West always had in it. And, I'll tell you, when I was showing at Art Basel in December, I was surprised myself when I was asked to do a showcase in Miami. And I think the inspiration, the whole theme for that year was art from the eye of India. And I thought that was so interesting because we are the land of color and of so much more that the world has just constantly picked up. So to me, I was surprised that they thought of me for this because I've also been doing a very different type of fashion for so many years, and I don't consider myself a couturier as such, but to be able to create that 20-piece capsule, I remember thinking I was so free in my inspiration because I was looking at India, you know, and I wasn't trying to make it local, or I wasn't going to Miami with a watered down version of India. I was going with India on my sleeve. So I think that's the shift. India has suddenly opened its own eyes to everything that it has to offer.
Yeah, and we'll come to more about the world taking inspiration from India in a bit. But as you said, we've always had the craft. We've had the luxurious textiles, the silhouettes. But fashion in India was fairly straight-laced for a while, and I feel like, Masaba, you had a big role in making it fun and playful, and you put in, you know, all these prints and motifs that weren't traditionally associated with Indian fashion. So what was that journey like?
I think for me it was very clear that when I was literally an usher at Fashion Week, I would see show after show. And I remember thinking how limiting that people feel India is only about wedding wear. Or Indian fashion is only about dressing up the bride and the groom and the family. And while that's a big part, and I think it's the bread and butter of most design houses in India today, we shouldn't neglect that. But I feel that there was an other India that I saw was not being catered to. And this was 2009 when I made my debut in fashion. And I said, what if we did ready to wear for India, but in a very, very not so ethnic way, but almost like a fusion global way. And I think fusion that was the first time I used the word fusion. You know, you typically don't, you're like, when did I use that first? And it was then that I said, what if we did the ease of silhouettes that you can wear every day, but with some craft. And I did a lot of ikat back then. In fact, the start of my career was ikat. There was a lot of embroidery. There was a lot of just generally going and finding a lot of textiles across India and using them in my work. And then I think I just got corrupted to find things that are easier and faster to do. But I do think that for me, it was just simply filling a gap that I saw very clearly existed. I didn't want to be one of the many people doing bridal in the way that it was done back then. And I thought that people in India deserve to wear more than just, at the time, there was just the Bibas and the Ws of the world that were giving you the A-line kurti with leggings. That was Indian fashion. I don't think anyone even remembers this, but that was Indian fashion. Then came the anarkali, and then came so many other things. So I think in many ways, I felt that I needed to bring the fun in fashion, in Indian fashion, every day. And that was the whole thought, really.
Another relatively new phenomenon we're seeing in India is that these, you know, the leading business women of India are recognizing the power of fashion on global stages, including Isha Ambani, Natasha Poonawalla, Ananya Birla. So how would you say, Anaita, this changes the game as opposed to just having celebrities?
So, I mean, fortunately for me, I work with the first two a lot. And I think these are women who are very serious about what they support. And I feel they've been supporting the arts and fashion over years before it became trendy to be attending, say, a Met Gala or the Oscars or whatever. They are pioneers for the right reasons, in the sense they are also people who are changing the entire ecosystem. You know, we work with designers very closely. They work with stylists. They're preserving craft. It's not just about that one moment. This is something that's going to go into history books. And I admire them for having the courage to put themselves out there while running their huge businesses. And also having a point of view. I think it's very important to let designers dream, let people like me, you know, literally fly high and do whatever we want. I mean, a mango on a red carpet, come on, guys, you know. So I feel it's really more power to them. And I think what we don't realize is this whole ecosystem that's developing, because when you see someone like them as iconic as they are wearing something, the trickle down is obvious, it's huge, the industry grows, there's more eyeballs on our craft, there's more eyeballs on our other designers, and it just snowballs into something bigger. So I think for the fashion industry, it's incredible.
Yeah, and as you said, a lot of these women have made active investments in Indian fashion, and yours is one of the labels that has benefited from that. And corporate investment in Indian fashion is fairly nascent still. What would you say it's changed for the industry since that wave of investments has come in?
You know, I keep saying that it's like putting your dream on wheels when you tie up with a corporate. Majority of House of Masaba was acquired by the Aditya Birla Group in 2022. And 4 years down the line, I think in every single aspect that a creative individual like me, and I always considered myself a product person first and then an entrepreneur, I just think the value add is immense. I don't think I can even pin down to one specific area, but I think be it strategic thinking, be it recruiting the right team, or rather recruiting and building a team that you feel will support not just the now, but the future of the business. And also building a plan where you can be agile enough because not just because of the capital that you have, but because of the number of heads that are applying their minds to your business. And I always believe that, you know, when you're a creative person first, you should let somebody else do the business, right? And for me, it was very clear because I think I raised money for the first time in 2018 with a bunch of independent investors. And prior to that, the first time I had a stint with corporate and creative sort of marrying was Satyapal. So when I was creative head of Satyapal from 2012 to 2014, and I worked with Sanjay Kapoor at Genesis, I saw the power that that marriage can bring. But like all marriages, one has to come halfway and also be willing to let go of that certain creative control that you feel you always need to hold on to, because I think the picture is much larger. And I think today, because of the number of platforms you have, it's not very hard to start a brand. It's not very hard to be visible. But I think to be able to make an impact is very hard, and which is why you need people like these who actually have their feet in different places and they can really add value in so many different ways. So if I talk about the Aditya Birla Group per se, you think of the collective and you think of the Pantaloons ecosystem and you think of Galleries Lafayette, which has just come into the country. So there's so many different places where you can just dip into that pool of talent. You can pick brains of people from everyone from Reebok to Madura Garments to you name it, and it some way it adds value to your business. So I think it is the only way for brands in the future to scale, but that depends on your appetite to scale also.
Sure. And Anaita, you've also worked with some of the world's leading couture houses to create custom saris and Indian silhouettes. How do you think the perception has changed about India since when you started?
I think like earlier, you know, it was more like we were a sourcing hub. They came here to do the embroidery. They still do, which is amazing for our industry. But I feel there is an intrigue. You know, people are way more informed. A lot of creative directors travel to India on just eye-opening research trips to understand what we're all about. And I think they're taking us very seriously. You know, when I approach them for a collaboration with, like, say, a beautiful Indian textile from Swadesh or from a weaver directly like we just did, there's completely open-mindedness, excitement, and I feel very lucky, firstly, to be working with the best in the business, whether it's in India or abroad. For me, it's all the same. I truly believe that we have some of the best talent here, and especially also when you were talking about Pret. I feel the biggest misconception globally is that people think we only do wedding wear and dressy clothes, but we have the most incredible Pret designers. I mean, you know, when I travel and I'm usually wearing Indian designers, I'm always stopped and asked, where did you get this? Who makes it? People write down, you know. So I feel that narrative has changed. You know, it's very appreciative, and I'm very proud to be a small part of the system, because even editorially before, I always made sure I mixed global fashion and Indian fashion seamlessly, because that's how I believe most of us dress. You know, we're not all wearing one designer head to toe. We can't afford that. So to give people that opportunity, that vision, which was like, hey, you might have one, you know, designer jacket, but here's another cool Pret brand to mix with it. So I'm very happy to see it actually being appreciated everywhere.
And where this question's for both of you, but where do you draw the line between inspiration and cultural appropriation, as we've seen a lot of controversy over the past year?
Well, I think the difference is actually between appreciation and appropriation. They're two very different things. Like you can come here and say, oh, wow, your slippers are beautiful. I don't have to copy them and make them. But if I do, I need to make sure I'm contributing back to that, collective, that craft. They also earn from their craft heritage. And you work together. It's more collaborative. I think that's the way I see it. But appreciation is welcome.
And now that we've established that India, is on the global map, it is on every red carpet that's worth being on, how do you think this benefits India? How can we harness this power further?
I think so many ways. I think that, like you said, the platform exists today. I don't think you need a large workforce, manpower to really put things together. I think also sourcing product, raw material, everything has just become simpler, Back in the day, you really had to do a lot of work, a lot of R&D before you even launched a collection. I mean, just simple example, the cycle of fashion was that you did about 2 collections a year, and you hit the runway, and then maybe 6 months later, it hit stores. Today, we're doing, I don't even know how many collections we do, and it's almost instant. It's like you create the product, okay, it's good to go, you shoot it, it's on the shop floor, or it's online. So I think with how D2C has emerged as a major, major area, I do think that people should use this time. I think it's the best time to be an entrepreneur, if you ask me, and kickstart something that you've been meaning to. But I also think that there's a lot of noise, and the internet needs to chill out a little bit as well. I do think so, because I think that there's so much noise, there's so much uproar about small things. I think that one needs to find meaning behind a viral moment. So you're viral for 48 hours or 72 hours, and then what? So I think to find longevity is going to be very, very hard, but also very simple, if you know what I mean. But I think that one has to think of a plan that is fluid enough to change, I'm saying within days, not even weeks, because that's the world we're living in today.
Sorry, I've been told we're running out of time, but just quick closing comments. What's myth about Indian fashion that you wish the world would stop believing?
Just to pick up on what Anaita said, I think we're not just a costume party. We're not. We're beyond that. And I think everything does not have to be a movement. Go where you're celebrated, and you can be in a simple t-shirt and jeans, but everything does not have to be a whole look. As Karina says, thak gaye, really thak gaye. So just let's relax. Let's sit at home for a change and gather our thoughts. And I think we need to really see India for what it is, beyond the idea of being a costume party. It's not that.
I agree. I feel context is way more important than costume. And I feel there are no limits for us. We're very fortunate to be in a world where, like I said, everyone is equally talented. The world is one place. And just shine bright, dream big. There's nothing stopping you.
Perfect. I think that's about all the time we have. But thank you so much for being with us today.